Morning. I've been thinking recently about how Tesla are very much like my teenage son. They can be a bit different and a bit quirky. They can be fun to be around. They've got their light shows and their games. But at some point, they've just got to grow up. They've got to go and earn a keep in the real world with the big boys. For Tesla, that means playing alongside Volkswagen and Skoda, for example. So today, I've got a 2026 Tesla Model Y, and I'm going to see if it really has grown up. So what have we got here today? Well, this is a 2026 Tesla Model Y all-wheel drive long range. So it's just under the performance. It's just short of £52,000 for this on the road. The side of it, well, it's very Tesla. It's a big slab, isn't it? I do like this colour. You can see a bit of the styling. It's all the usual Tesla design details, the sunken handles and the aero wheels. We're all very familiar with it. I can see on this one it's not done many miles. It's already curbed. That is a problem with all Teslas. They all seem to be attracted to curbs. Other than that, the wheels are pretty standard. This is what they come with. They do get bigger if you go to the performance, slightly smaller if you have the standard range plus, but not an awful lot more to say on the side here. Let's have a look at the back. So now it starts to get a little bit more interesting. I love this design on the back with Tesla actually written now. It looks much smarter. And when it's dark, you can see the red light. The strip goes right across the back. Very futuristic, very nice. I really like the back of this here. But as much as I like the back, it's the front that gets me really excited. This reminds me growing up when we used to watch futuristic movies and we saw these futuristic cars with big light strips across the front that seem to hover and glide along. Well, this is it. And there's something still quite fun about Tesla. I think they try and capture that and try and put it back into their styling, and I think it works. I think this is a definite improvement on the previous Model Y. And inside this car, well, it definitely feels roomy. It's slightly bigger than any of its rivals, so the Skoda Enyaq and the VW ID4, but there's definitely that minimalistic feel. Now, again, compared to the old Model Y, I think it feels much better. It feels like it's grown up. This light grey trim and the uprated seats, again, previously the seats I found were comfortable, but they got a bit sticky. Well, these ones don't. And in fact, in this car, they've even got air vents to blow cool air onto you. So it's definitely an improvement there. The steering wheel, well, all our buttons and things are on there. We'll talk about those more later when we're out driving. And the screen, it's a nice big 16-inch touch screen. But there's nothing else in here to distract you. We've got some wireless charging pads. We've got some lovely big open areas that we can store bits and pieces in, whether it's in the front here, our cup holders, or in the armrest. Door pockets aren't a bad size, and the glove box is a reasonable size too. So in the front here, comfortable, modern, simplistic. What about the back? And in the back, well, more of the same really. It feels very spacious. It feels very open. This glass roof obviously helps. What I have found, having owned one, they look great. People always rave about them, but actually living with them, they can make the cabin quite hot, even though they are heat-proofed. And you don't really look out of them that often. So it's a nice feature, but not a must-have. The seats are still comfortable back here. This one's for 5 people. You can get 7 in with the additional seats in the back, but honestly, 5, it's comfortable, it's not a squash. A nice addition is this nice 8-inch touchscreen. Now that, again, doesn't come in all models, it's just the higher up ones, but from back here, I can control my vents. I can also have things like Netflix on. And if you've got 2 kids in the back, they can both be wearing Bluetooth headsets and they can both connect to it separately, so there's no fighting over headphones. And while we're talking about space, the boot has got 854 litres and the front 117 litres. So plenty of storage space. When you compare that to its rivals, the Enyaq, the ID4, they're all around 500, just over 500 litres. So plenty of room here. And of course, this being a hatchback, where it's advantages over the Model 3, not only have we got the extra headroom, but the seats lie flat. So you've got loads of extra room if you need to cart things around. Once you're in the car and driving, that minimalistic approach to the cabin really starts to make sense, because what do I need when I'm driving? I need a really good view, and I need to know what speed I'm going. So top right hand corner of this screen has got my speed, so that's really easy to see, and I've got a great view around me. Being the Model Y, we're a little bit higher here, so that's quite nice. And the only criticism potentially I would give is that the view from the rear isn't as great as the view out the front. So when I look in the rear view mirror, it's quite small. You would expect the rear window to be massive because you look back and you see all this expanse of glass, but actually looking through the mirror here, it's like a letterbox. Don't get me wrong, I can see everything behind. I've got some nice big wing mirrors that I can see everything in, so actually it works really well. But it's just worth mentioning that sometimes you might have to rely on the cameras. So the cameras on here are very, very good. With a push of the button on my steering wheel, I can see exactly what's behind me, and it's a nice big view. I can see to the left and right, and if I can also, if I'm parking, I can see the front. Now that's a really nice update from my Model 3, which is a late 2021. There is a front camera, but it's up high, so you can't see right down where the bumper is, right at the front when you're trying to park. My wife always says it's easier to park our Nissan Leaf with that lovely 360 view from above than it is to park our Tesla, which surprised her with all the technology that's in it. Well, now we've got a nice camera down in the front bumper, so we might not get the 360 view from above, but I can switch to that camera while I'm trying to park, and I can see exactly how close I am to the car in front. So that's a really nice addition. Those cameras have been put in place because Tesla have switched from all the different systems they had, sensors around the car and cameras combination, to just what they call Tesla Vision. And that is not just for parking, but it's for their self-driving. It feeds into the computer what's going on around the car all the time. Now, Elon Musk has said that that's much better than all the separate systems trying to work together, because sometimes they contradict each other. By doing that, it shouldn't get as confused. It should be better at seeing things in a distance. It should be better identifying objects. In the real world, well, it's definitely better than my Model 3 when it's in self-driving mode. It's still not great. I would say some of the other cars, its competitors, are slightly better. Things like, if I'm driving now on a dual carriageway and I was in lane 2 and a car looked to just move towards the centre of the road in lane 1, it would anticipate that that car is going to come across in front of me, even though it clearly isn't, and it would apply the brakes. It would slow down quite abruptly, which can be dangerous for the cars behind. So you always have to be covering the accelerator just in case that happens, so you can push it on through. I don't find that happens as much in some of the other cars, in some of its competitors. But other than that, it seems to work quite well. That on the screen with the cameras, which are really big and clear, all the warnings that you can see if you're getting close to anything, I find that actually makes it relatively easy to park and to control. It's just that little criticism I've still got on the self-driving. Other updates include things like the suspension and what they've called a Giga cast. So Giga casting, rather than having lots of individual components along the bottom of the car, along the chassis, they've constructed two big components that come together. That means it's much firmer, there's a lot less things that can go wrong and problems, and within that sits the battery, and the battery is now part of the structure of the car. Again, makes it much firmer, makes it a better ride. I know Thatchams have had a look at this, and they've said that in a minor accident, this car now is much cheaper to repair than previous models because of this Giga casting. And as a result, I think the ride is much better. Again, I would suggest it's probably still not as refined as some of the better known brands that we would drive, but it's definitely much better than the previous model. There's not as many bangs, there's not as many rattles. The steering feels firm, it feels responsive. Look, this is a family car. We're not in here to race. We want a nice, comfortable drive that the family enjoy and they don't comment on. And that's certainly what you'll get in here. Maybe if you jump from this car into, I don't know, Skoda Enyaq, for example, you might find it's a little bit more refined in there. But if you're not driving them back to back, I don't think you'll have any issues at all with it. Performance-wise, well, this all-wheel drive long-range model will do 0 to 60 in about 4.9 seconds. That is plenty quick enough, I can tell you. The performance model is a lot quicker. It's just over 3 seconds. And the standard range plus is it's a bit slower. It's just short of 7 seconds. Again, for what the type of car it is, even if you go for the standard range plus, I think that is plenty quick enough. Because remember, you've got that lovely linear torque. It just keeps going. There's no change in gear. There's no worrying about messing about that in that way. It just keeps pulling. And I honestly, I don't think any of those figures can be laughed at. And of course, the other big thing when we talk about performance is how quick can you recharge the battery? And for me, this is one of the massive selling points for Tesla, and certainly why I chose one in the end. The Tesla superchargers, in combination with the mapping in this car, works seamlessly. So if I put in my destination, if I need a charge en route, then the car will work it out for me. It will tell me where I need to stop to charge, and it will tell me how long I need to be there for. Now, Tesla say that this car will charge at a rate of every 15 minutes, about 160, 165 miles. Now, in reality, yeah, it's not far off that, because when you're approaching these chargers, the battery starts preconditioning itself, so it's absolutely primed for when you plug in. Of course, when you first plug in, the charge rate goes through the roof and it looks amazing. But as the battery warms and it starts to charge, that charge rate does come down a bit. But when you arrive, if it says you need 10 minutes of charge, you need 10 minutes of charge. So it works really nicely. There's no, well, in my time, I've never had to queue for a supercharger. And the fact that you can just pull up, plug your car in, there's no cards, apps, any messing about. And as soon as it's done, you just stop the charge and leave. To me, that works really well. And range-wise, well, this shows high 300 miles if you look at the books. Reality, I would say low to mid 300s. Obviously, this depends on how you drive it and whether it's a freezing cold winter's day and you've got all the heating on. But on a normal day with normal driving, you can certainly go well over 300 miles in it. If you own one and you've used it for a long time, pop something in the comments to help everybody else out, because that is probably the one question you get asked more than anything. How many miles do these things do to a charge? So please pop something in and then you'll help people out. And the other thing for me that really makes Tesla stand out above any of its competition is its software updates. You buy the car and it doesn't just stop there. Now, I know the newer processors can maybe do things that the older ones can't do. So for example, the AI interface with Grok is in the newer cars with the newer processors. Maybe that will come to the older ones at some point, but the older ones are still getting updated. So for example, recently there was a change with the Matrix headlights. I think the Matrix headlights work really, really well anyway, but they identified an issue where if they reflected off of a sign, the car thought that that was an oncoming vehicle. Well, it can now recognize that that's just a sign, so it doesn't dip the headlights away from it, so you maintain your view a lot better. So it could be anything from a little change on something on the screen to something to do with the headlights, the way the windscreen wipers perform, the way it handles. So, have Tesla grown up now? Well, yes, I think they have. There's so many good things on this car. The suspension's better, the ride handling's better, the soundproofing is far better than it ever used to be. So yes, they've learnt and they've started to grow up. Does that mean they're still immature? Well, maybe a little bit, but aren't we all at heart? And isn't that what we love? A bit of fun, a bit of something different. And that's what appeals to me with this car. It's a little bit different. It's not the run of the mill. It's not the same as every other car on the road. I like my technology. I like things to keep adapting and keep evolving. That's not for everybody. Would I consider buying one? Well, yeah, I would. This is definitely a practical car for a family. Now, I've got a Model 3, maybe not so practical. I can get the family in it, it's comfortable, it's fine, but I'm missing that hatchback, and that really does make a big difference. There's more room in this one, there's more headroom, and all the new features in it that would probably keep the kids entertained in the back and keep my teenagers happy. This definitely has it. So yes, I would definitely consider this one. Would I consider it over the likes of the Volkswagen and the Skoda? Yeah, absolutely. I like that difference. I like to be a little bit different to everybody else. I like to have something that maybe turns heads and gets people talking, and this car definitely does. So that's it for today. Hopefully next time it won't be so long until the next one. But until then, you take care. I'll see you soon.